What's going on, everybody? GemMint here, back with another XM Studios prototype statue review, and this is one that I've been looking forward to for a while. We have a severe lack of Fantastic Four characters in the collecting world, and we'll get the occasional Doctor Doom or Silver Surfer, but never have we had a quarter-scale Super Skrull, a character I've always been a big fan of. He first appeared in Fantastic Four issue 18. He's part of the Skrull race, which are a race of shapeshifters who we've recently been introduced into the MCU, but the Super Skrull, Kl'rt, is able to use the powers of all four members of the Fantastic Four, and we'll see him utilizing those powers in this statue review today. Now keep in mind, this is a prototype, so you might see imperfections, you might see breakages, things might not connect this way for the production piece, but you'll get an idea of how the piece will look in your collection. So with that being said, let's take a closer look at some of these pieces individually, do an assembly, and then I'll do a review. All right, so we have the pieces on the table. Let's take a look at this little piece of flame that'll go around his ankle. First of all, I think XM Studios is the leader in painted flame applications. I've always loved their flames, dating back to the XM Ghost Rider on bike. Here's a bigger piece that goes around his leg as well, so I like the movement, I like the color. Looking good there. His right arm, this is one of two switch outs, which he's taking the form of the Thing, and I am in love with the color scheme here. This looks like real rock that I would see outside, especially here in the desert environment that I'm in. Love the texturing, love the tones on the fingers there. Look how awesome that looks. Amazing sculpt here, and this kind of blew my mind. So a Thing hand, right hand switch out, but it has translucency as he's also incorporating Invisible Woman's power. Now this doesn't really show up as well as it did when I took the picture outside. I shared this on social media, so make sure you're following me on Instagram and on Facebook and everything, but you can see how awesome this right hand switch out looks. Love the detail, love the uniqueness of it, and incorporating two Fantastic Four members, just like the left arm switch out. So the first one is strictly Mr. Fantastic powers. Reed Richards with his stretchiness, and look how large his quarter scale hand is. It's almost like a 1/1. And then they have the same stretchy arm, but now it's engulfed in flames, incorporating the Human Torch's powers. Again, love XM Studios fire. Love it surrounding this hand, which I can basically fit my hand in. So cool, and an amazing switch out for Super Skrull. There is a pretty ugly seam here. I don't know if that's going to be corrected in production. Hopefully it is, but I love the flame, especially the tinge on the fingers. Speaking of flame, it's almost like a crown, this big, huge piece of flame, which is going to be incorporated into the base, and I'll explain more of it, but it did actually have some breakage when I got it. I had to glue it back together. Prototype, people, there's going to be imperfections, but again, more flame from the yellows to the reds. I'm just impressed. I love XM Studios fire. What I have not seen before is this big, clear piece of invisible force field, also from Invisible Woman, which will play with the fire and keys in kind of in a unique way. And then we have Kl'rt's body. Look how big this notch is. This is huge. And right away, this guy gives me heavy Thanos vibes, almost like just a different color scheme, but he's got that same winged armor, big boots, and the portraits even have Thanos inspiration, it looks like. But I gotta say, I am in love with the green tones here. The sculpt and the paint mixed with the quality of the teeth and the tongue. I think this is one of my favorite monster looking portraits ever. Just green, the elf ears, even the shadowing and just the depth of the paint really blows my mind. There's two portraits, the screaming portrait and then the grinning one. Again, tell me you don't think of Thanos right away, especially with the chin and everything, but the lines, like the wrinkles in the forehead, the deeper greens next to those brighter greens, it just works so well. I'm a huge fan of both of these portraits. All right, so we got a huge base. Let's get it on the turntable. It's essentially a crashed spacecraft onto some rocks and rubble, but there's a lot of intricacies in the interior of the spaceship. You could see all these mechanical inner workings, and there's different colors. It looks great. I mean, XM has done these types of bases before, and they usually excel at it. And we'll go ahead and key Super Skrull in right on top here. So like I said, huge notch on that right foot. That crown of fire has a hole right here, and you're going to want to fit that into this protruding piece right here, and that's the only thing it's going to latch onto. So you put the fire down first as the Super Skrull is escaping what looks like a crashed ship, but the force field is pressing the fire away from him, giving this a very unique base design. So you're going to want to get that in there and not snap it like I did. Going on to that ankle, like I said, those two pieces of flame will wrap around it. So showcasing, his abilities of using the Fantastic Four members' powers. Speaking of which, Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards' left arm switch out right here. Then we'll put in the regular Thing arm on the right. And you can make all types of different display options with this. You can do the flame stretchy arm with the regular Thing arm, or, vice versa. Different portrait options. So here's that grinning portrait. And we'll switch that out to the other look, right? The fire stretchy arm. Make sure that's keyed in. And then the translucent Thing rock arm. Right, so there's different combinations, and then this last portrait right here, the screaming rage portrait, always a favorite of mine. Before we continue, I want to thank That Spider-Man Booth for sponsoring this video. Make sure you're following them over on Whatnot for daily live comic book auctions. You could win CGC key issues and get some great exclusive variants from their sister site, Street Level Hero. If you haven't, you can download Whatnot in the link in the description. It'll actually give you a $10 credit that you can use towards your first purchase. Alright guys, and there we have him, Super Skrull by XM Studios. I'm just super impressed that we even got this character. Before we get into the review, let's get some dimensions on him. It looks like the arm is going to be his tallest point, and I think this switch out's the tallest one as well. So it looks like it's about 26 inches tall. The width is not too bad. The width is about 13.5 inches. The depth can be really deep if you have this force field and flame on the front, making it about 21 inches. However, I think you can display that without, and I'll show you guys in a little bit what I mean. Otherwise, it's just 17 inches deep. This piece retails 1,600 Singapore dollars, which is around 1,150 USD. This does not have a worldwide license. It is in these regions that I have on screen here, but nevertheless, we'll get into the review. So, starting with the base, like I said when we were looking at it without the flame and the force field, it can often go overlooked, but if you paid attention to the inner details of this base, you could see it's got a lot going on. Again, a crashed spaceship on top of some rock. You can see the wind turbine here. You can see the gouges and scratches as it crashed through the rocks. And then you have this force field piece. Now, I did mention that I broke it. Again, this is a prototype. A lot of these things I'm sure will be addressed in production issues, but I ended up snapping this piece off. I really like how it looks like the force field is pushing down away from the fire, although it couldn't really hurt him, I guess, right, because he's got it on his ankle. But like I was saying, you could remove this, and you don't have any open keyholes or anything because this piece is the only piece sticking out, like I mentioned earlier, so you could save some space like this. Again, that body, beefy, muscular, looks like Thanos with a different paint scheme, which is true to the comics. You can't be mad at XM. Really like the different texturing from the boots. You have like a more traditional high-tech texture, but then a leather-like look across his pants up into his chest there. The quality on the Thing arms is second to none. It really is unfair that we don't have a quarter-scale Fantastic Four line, but with this coming, I feel like we're nearing closer and closer to one. The flame, stretchy hand, amazing, and those portraits. These are some of my favorite portraits literally ever on a quarter scale piece. The paint is immaculate, and I know this is probably Aang who did the paint here. I'm sure their factories can reproduce it, but they got some work ahead of them. They really did a great job on these portraits. The teeth, the glossiness on the inside of the mouth looks great. Really loving the portraits, loving the switch out options. So cool to see this character having all the powers of the Fantastic Four at his disposal. I always felt like this character was underrated, and it's so cool to see XM Studios actually make this and produce this in quarter scale. We always get villains from Fantastic Four, whether it's Doctor Doom or Silver Surfer or Galactus. If you want to consider Silver Surfer a villain, depends on when you're reading. For them to do Super Skrull, and hopefully one day we'll get Fantastic Four in quarter scale. I have a feeling we will. Let me know what you think about the Super Skrull in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll leave you with him spinning on the turntable. Stay minty fresh, y'all. Peace.